Hello, this is Caleb Barney, local real estate agent in the greater Cleveland, Ohio market. And today I wanted to go over a Housing Wire article titled "Just How Bad Was 2023 for the Housing Market?" And when we dig into this, it says, well, how bad was last year? According to Real Trends, who's been tracking housing market data since 1979, one of their most important calculations that they do each year is measure the percentage of all households that purchased a home, whether new or existing, in a given year. And over the past 40 plus years that they've tracked this figure, the average of all households that purchased a home each year was about 4.78%, and the median was 4.64%. So basically, 4.5 to 5% of all households will purchase a home each year. Well, that factor for 2023 was 3.58%. And that number has not been that low since 1981, which was a recession year. And even during the downturn of the GFC, the global financial crisis or great financial crisis, from 2006 to 2010, did not hit that low of a number, with the low coming in 2010 at 3.84% of households that purchased a home. And that was, of course, for a different reason. At that time, many people lost their jobs. They weren't thinking of investing, they were playing it safe. So even if they were secure in their jobs, a lot of people just got shell shocked with what was going on in the economy. So not many buyers were available, and houses actually sat around for a while back in the day. That actually wasn't the case in 2023. And basically, the reason there, even though we did see housing affordability take a big hit because interest rates from basically the second half of 2022 all the way into October, almost November of 2023, spiked dramatically. In fact, they actually topped out around 8% in the third week of October of 2023. There were still buyers that were able and willing to purchase a home. But there weren't very many sellers that wanted to sell their house because, after all, why would you want to trade in a low mortgage rate or a low monthly mortgage payment for a higher one and get less house? So, for example, before I move on from this article, moving on from this article, just briefly, I did want to bring up this Axios statistic from December 12th of 2023, so a month and a half ago. The share of mortgage-free homes in the United States actually increased to almost 40%. And this was among owner-occupied housing units in 2022. So basically in 2022, almost 40% of all houses that were owner-occupied, so not rental properties or anything like that, were owned free and clear. So of course, those people are not incentivized to sell their home necessarily because unless they, I mean, that's the thing. The average home prices didn't really go down. So if they're selling their home for top dollar, but they're basically just trading places and they're paying top dollar, it's not necessarily beneficial to them. A lot of times they've been there for a while, so unless they're downsizing or right sizing, where they go to like a ranch, for example, moving from a colonial to a ranch, something that might be a little easier to age in place, then it didn't make sense for a lot of those people, those homeowners, to sell. And for the homeowners who did carry a mortgage, this is from the Joint Center for Housing Studies of Harvard University, and this actually came out around the same time, actually the following day, December 13th of 2023. You could see what it says here. So, I mean, it says 60% of mortgage homeowners had interest rates below 4%, and nearly all, which is 90%, had interest rates below 6%. So basically, again, you have 90% of anybody with a mortgage having an interest rate below 6%, whereas in October of 2023, heading into November 2023, we were at nearly 8% for your interest rates. So that means if you had a, say, like a $300,000 house and a 6% interest rate, if you wanted to sell that house and get a bigger house, yes, your loan balance would be larger, but your interest rate would also be larger. And that's where a lot of times you would see, your monthly mortgage payment, not like in general, going up, 40% or more sometimes over the past couple of years. And that's what really has been holding people back from selling. So that brings me back to this Housing Wire article where it says another startling fact was that 2023 saw just over 4 million existing home sales. That was almost exactly the number that traded hands in 1979. However, in 1979, there were only 80 million households in the United States. As of the end of 2023, there were an estimated 131 million households. So 51 million more households in the country, and we saw the same amount of houses sell in 2023 compared to 1979, which is bonkers. It's just absolutely crazy. So they said if 2023 would have sold the same number of homes as indicated by the long-term, that 40-year average of 4.78% households of all households purchasing a home, that would have generated over 6.2 million existing home sales as opposed to the just over 4 million. So an extra 2 million sales, you're like, okay, 4 to 6, but that's an extra 33% right there. So what about the next few years? Mortgage rates are not likely to return to the 3% range anytime soon. I think that is being very, very conservative in saying that. I don't know if we're ever going to see mortgage rates in the threes again. And I know some people who have interest rates like at 2.75%, which is also crazy. But forecasts are calling for a range between 4.5% and 5% over the next few years. Again, Steve Murray, who is writing this article, I think is being pretty generous there. I know he says over the next few years, but guessing or forecasting what you think interest rates are going to be that far out into the future, it's kind of silly. People like even FHFA or I'm sorry, Fannie Mae and whatnot, when they're making their forecasts, are revising them constantly. So, right now, interest rates are in the mid sixes to high sixes, depending on your personal scenario. So that includes credit score, debt to income ratio, a lot of different factors like that. And I think that we're going to have a bumpy ride in 2024 for interest rates, but it should be gradually ticking down. And I actually did see Fannie Mae. I think they had their end of year projection right around 6% even. So that would be definitely very good to hopefully open up the housing market. But ultimately, we still just do need more affordable houses that are hitting the market. And while a lower interest rate is going to hopefully incentivize some home sellers to let go of their houses, it's also going to bring in more demand and more home buyers. So, with that supply and demand still outpacing supply potentially, I could still see home prices going up and housing affordability being a real issue over the next several years. So that's just my 2 cents on this Housing Wire article that I thought was interesting. 2023 was actually a banner year for me in real estate sales. So, if you do have any questions, especially regarding the Northeast Ohio market or the greater Cleveland, Ohio market, reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with you or answer any questions that I can. Thanks, and have a great day.